Alrighty, good Wednesday afternoon to you. Welcome in the Chico Borman Show here on the Big Play Sports Network, and of course following us on Twitter at Chico Show CLE. Also find us on YouTube. Go over to YouTube, type in the Chico Borman Show. If you are not subscribed already, well, go there now and hit subscribe, and you'll be all set to go. Also, wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, doesn't matter, and available streaming live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, busy show for you. Old pal, we haven't talked to him in a while, and I was actually texting with him over the weekend, and then I realized, you know what? We need a little Booney in our life. Shohei Ohtani goes to the Dodgers. Ben Verlander had an interesting comment yesterday saying that Shohei Ohtani is the biggest signing in Dodgers history. Did I miss where Jackie Robinson played there too? I mean, I guess I get it, but anyway, we've got a lot to catch up on with Booney, and we'll do that coming up at 12:30, and then coming up in the 1 o'clock hour, 10 after 1:10 to be exact. Damon Wolf, he is with Browns in Motion and covering the Browns. Obviously, they are back on the practice field today and getting set for the Houston Texans, who might very well be without C.J. Stroud. They are saying that C.J., former Buckeye star, is still experiencing concussion-like symptoms. They said he's got a real, sensitivity to light still going on. And so Houston's going to be very, very careful with that. They have to be. They don't have a choice, and they should. So it's looking like the battle of 30-somethings, speaking of old pals, Case Keenum would be the guy for the Texans against our 30-something, soon to be 38, Joe Flacco. So could be an interesting matchup coming up on Sunday in Houston, but it is looking more and more like the Texans will be without their star rookie quarterback. All right, Cavs are back in action tonight. They are on the floor later this evening against the Utah Jazz. Interesting note from Chris Fedor of Cleveland.com, a friend of the show, as we like to say. Chris is reporting that Donovan Mitchell was not on the floor for shoot-around. So Donovan could be getting the night off. Obviously, the injuries still continuing to mount for the Cavs, but they are winning basketball games, and that is something. So they've got Utah tonight. Utah not very good, about 7 games below 500. Cavs coming in at 15-12. Tip-off is 7 at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. All right, speaking of hoops, normally this time of the year I'd probably start with something Browns-related, and we've got plenty of Browns to get to, and we'll cover that with Damon in the second hour. But I got to start with hoops. This is something that I'm burning on after last night. And folks, I know as I get older, not that old, but as I get older, certain things bother me more than they used to. We won't go into the laundry list because it probably is a laundry list. But, okay, Ja Morant. I can't take it anymore. So Ja Morant, first of all, I didn't realize he was back. He was back last night after he had the 20. For those of you that can't remember, Ja Morant with the Memphis Grizzlies had a 25-game suspension. He's been in trouble with the league a few times involving guns on Instagram. The latest one that got him suspended for 25 games was essentially he had just gotten busted. Somebody tried to give him a heads up like, dude, what are you doing? You just got busted for waving guns on Instagram. He does it again. He's had some issues. So he gets 25 games. Comes back, and good for him. He scores 34 points. He hits the game winner. I went to bed soon after that. I didn't stay up. I didn't think I would need to stay up to listen to Ja Morant's presser. But if someone said, hey, what do you think Ja Morant's going to talk about? My guess is he's going to say, hey, it's great to be back. I learned a lot about myself and realized that, there are just things that I've got to do and certain things certainly that I can't do. And it just, I took playing for granted, blah, blah, blah. Nope. Hell no. Ja Morant starts with, I've been keeping receipts, or I should say a reporter, let me be clear, I don't want to throw him too far under the bus. A reporter said that he was seen walking off the floor, jogging off the floor, whatever, saying, yeah, well, I keep receipts. And so then in the media session, another reporter said, yeah, Ja, real quick, notice that you said to somebody about keeping receipts. And he's like, oh, yeah, that's absolutely true. He's like, could you maybe shed some light on what you mean by that? He's like, oh, it's pretty self-explanatory. I keep receipts. Like, he's got a chip on his shoulder. For those that aren't following along, and keeping receipts is now a new little term, hot term that they've been using for a little. It's kind of like, like MJ used to do this back in the day, but MJ wouldn't talk about it. He would make a mental note of somebody that, maybe went on a scoring spree and then said, oh, well, I'm looking forward to playing Jordan. And he would but he wouldn't talk about it. Now, I know this day and age of social media and everything's reported, but seriously, Ja Morant just had a 25-game suspension. 25. Pretty significant. And one of the first things that he wants to talk about is how he's kept receipts. Now, mind you, I don't know for sure. I highly doubt that some of those receipts, I'm using air quotes here, that some of those receipts have to do with he's not a good basketball player, because that would be stupid, right? Everybody knows Ja Morant's a great basketball player. He's one of the best in the league. So what are you keeping receipts on, Ja? People that said you're a knucklehead? Because you are. I mean, what? It's just, honest to God, it amazes me. And I know, I still make dumb decisions today. I'll make dumb decisions until the day that I die. I made much dumber decisions in my younger years. And lucky for me, I wasn't in the spotlight. I wasn't, Ja Morant. But, can somebody get in this dude's ear and tell him that this is not how you want to go about it? Then he's asked about, the commissioner, and he's like, yeah, I've had a lot of, the commissioner said he's very happy to see me. See me play and get, well, Ja, I don't mean to burst your bubble, but yes, he's happy to see you play. He's happy to see you play and stay on the straight and narrow and do what you need to do to get on the floor. He's not overly exuberant because he gets to watch Ja Morant play. He can go watch anybody any night of the week that he wishes to go watch play. And yes, one of the stars are you. It's Ja Morant. And then somebody asked him about, the conversation, and he's like, oh, and he volunteered this one. He didn't even need provoke. I plan on keeping in touch with the commissioner. We formed a good relationship. We're going to continue to form a good relationship. The commissioner kept in touch with you because he had to keep in touch with you, because he made it known that you had to keep in touch with him to make sure that you're not doing anything wrong, like waving guns on Instagram for a third time. Okay? It wasn't wow, I really like that Ja Morant kid. He's a good dude. I really like that Ja Morant guy. He's got a game like nobody I've ever seen before. I've got it. He goes into his office, Commissioner Silver does, and his secretary, okay, so what's on my plate today? All right, you've got this meeting, you got that meeting, TNT execs. 2:00, you got to talk to Ja Morant. Oh, that's right. My weekly check-in with Ja to make sure that he's actually, doing the things that we've asked him to do. Right? But Ja Morant, it's like he learned nothing during the 25-game absence. I mean, you kept receipts? Whatever happened to just, you know what? I'm grateful to be back. He's like, yeah. I mean, he's asked about the game when he shot. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Blah blah blah. But then he immediately, it's all about him. All about him. Yeah, been keeping receipts. It's self-explanatory. I guarantee the receipts he's referring to are people talking about him in a negative light, or just, you know what? This dude's got to get his head out of his ass. Because guess what? Ja Morant needed to, and it sounds like still needs to, get his head out of his ass. Nobody's questioning whether or not Ja Morant can play hoops. Nobody's questioning. Nobody expected Ja Morant to come in after 25 games and, go 0 for 12. Although even if he did, it would have been understandable. He missed 25 games. The guy's a great player. People just want to see Ja Morant do his job, do it well, and just, sure, enjoy life. Hopefully you don't need to wrap yourself in bubble wrap and lock yourself in a closet between games and practices. Nobody's asking you to do that. But do you need to be a complete dumbass when you're hanging with even your friend? Remember that last time? Even his friend's like, dude, what are you doing? His own buddy, who was, probably up to no good. His own buddy's like, dude, Instagram, cameras, live, it's out, guns. Oh, yeah. Well, I'm keeping receipts. I mean, I don't know. I can joke that I'm getting old, but this one, it's kind of, he's gonna be in the hot water again. I don't know what it's gonna be for, but it'll happen again. I don't know. Boom. I was not expecting to wake up to those comments from Ja Morant. I didn't expect him to be bawling his eyes out, asking for forgiveness. I expected something along the lines of, man, it was just so refreshing, so great to be back on the court with my teammates. The fact that I was able to get 34 and the fact that I was able to get the game winner, all the nicer. But at the end of the day, I really missed basketball. I didn't expect. I'm keeping receipts, and Adam Silver and I are going to be in contact quite a bit because he thinks I'm a cool guy.
Yeah, Chico, I did happen to watch that game, and I got to say, first off, it was impressive, like that game winner and everything
Sure.
in your first game back.
Yeah.
Remarkable comeback and all. But, yeah, I was perplexed by that, Chico. It didn't really make sense to me. Like, okay, I understand that you see a lot of criticism, but, like, what? I don't get it. I don't really understand. Okay, I do understand how you kind of turned it into a me against the world approach.
And
right?
everybody does. Yeah, that's.
And I wouldn't say it makes me quite angry like you, but it's questionable. I don't understand where he's going with it.
Well, okay, angry is. I guess I don't understand. So I'm trying to get an understanding. And short of talking to Ja Morant, I probably can't get an understanding. I know there's going to be people that defend him out there, but okay, this is where this started. Like I said, keeping receipts or chip on your shoulder, it's usually reserved, or back in the day, it was reserved for goats. Not the animal goats, the athlete goat. MJ would do it, but MJ wouldn't talk about it. Tiger Woods would do it. Tiger Woods would, he'd hear guys like, yeah, I want a piece of Tiger. Okay, you want a piece of Tiger? Okay, back nine. Now I'm going to stare you down after I tap in birdie. I'm going to look back and let you know, hey, I'm still playing. Like, that's what it was reserved for. Now everybody apparently carries the chip on their shoulder. And not only do people carry chips on their shoulder, they've got to let it be known that you're carrying the chip on your shoulder. The thing that made MJ and Tiger Woods and like the greats of the greats was that they had those chips on their shoulder. They did use it for motivation. A lot of guys today just use it because it sounds like the right thing to say. Even as much as I love Kelsey and Mahomes. Like, nobody believed in us. It was us against the world. No, it wasn't. You think anybody last year thought the Chiefs aren't going to win the Super Bowl or the Chiefs don't have a chance in the world of getting to the Super Bowl, winning a Super Bowl? No. And I like Patrick Mahomes, and I certainly like Travis Kelce. So, I mean, this has become like such a thing with a certain generation where it's like, yeah, I've been keeping receipts. Yeah, I've been But, I mean, Ja Morant doesn't even have there's a difference between keeping a receipt and while it's probably not the good thing to do, you can at least make sense in terms of motivating yourself maybe. But again, the receipts that Ja Morant says he's keeping are simply people saying Ja Morant really needs to, figure this out. How are they wrong? And again, I would guarantee you that of every comment that Ja Morant read or heard, and if it were me or if I was his agent or a close friend, maybe the same close friend that said, hey, dummy, you might want to put the gun away. You're on Instagram Live. Maybe that same friend can go up to Ja Morant and say, Ja, you don't have nobody was telling you or saying that you're not a good basketball player. All they're saying is you got to get your shit together. You've got too much talent. Like that. If that now all of a sudden is something worthy of keeping a receipt for, hopefully you know that anyway. But it's like this dude, and again, keep in mind, this is a guy fresh off. First game back from a 25-game suspension. And that's what comes out of his mouth. And even with the commissioner, he could have taken that a different route. Like, hey, I'm just, I'm grateful that the league, reached out and, it was nice talking to Adam Silver, getting to know him getting to know me one-on-one. What started out as a really dark time, we blossomed into some good conversations. And no, they're like, so what did he say, Ja? What did Commissioner Silver say? That he loves my game and he's really excited to see me out there playing? Okay, did you think for a second that there's more beyond just him saying that? Like there's deeper meaning to it? I don't know. Like I can't root for Ja Morant. I can tell you that right now. No desire to root for Ja Morant. Like if you are that caught up in yourself, and and look, a lot of young guys are, a lot of old guys are. So I mean, it's a character flaw we all have. But I mean, you just served a 25-game penalty, and it's like, oh, let's hear what. I mean, if I would have thought for 1 second that would have been Ja's reaction, I probably would have stayed up a little longer. Maybe not. But to wake up to that, I see Ja Morant's name, and I'm like, okay, 34. Oh, no, it was more than that. If you can find the sound, boom, not necessarily right now. If you can do it later in the show, later in the show. But, and then when the reporter says to him, what do you mean by keeping receipts? He's like, well, it's self-explanatory. Okay, we know what you mean, but what receipts are you keeping? Because I guarantee you, again, and I'll end with this, I guarantee you the receipts he's keeping has kept whatever have nothing to do with how he plays the game of basketball. Matter of fact, they're probably effusive with the praise for his game on the court, how great he is. So it has nothing to do with your game. It's just up here. And by the way, all of those, that is yeah, you're right. That part's self-explanatory. The people that you need to keep receipts from, apparently, that are talking about keeping your head out of your rear end and thinking straight so you can stay on the basketball floor, those, you do want to keep, I guess, receipts of that. Yeah, that's something that apparently you do need to hear or actually listen to. You're hearing things. You're not listening. That's not a good thing. All right, so we move on. But I woke up to that and thought, another young man who is extremely talented that just doesn't get it. All right, mentioned that the Browns are back on the practice field today. again, getting ready to take on the Houston Texans. So it's funny. We'll hook up with Dan Lobby from Berea on Friday. And Dan, God bless him, went through all of the clinching scenarios. I can never do those. I mean, like, I don't care what anybody says, and you'll hear this a lot. Like, I get this a lot. Like, somebody will say, I don't know, just say a random team. Say I'm watching Ohio State or I'm watching the Browns or whatever. And someone will say, like, say during the preseason, Chico, who's 44? And, like, I might not know right away in preseason. They're like, come on, dude. You're the sports guy. You've got your own. That doesn't mean I know the numerical roster in preseason. And it's kind of the same thing with the playoff scenarios. I can't even begin to tell you who has to. The Browns have to win. There's my playoff scenario. The Browns have to continue to win, and they're going to be in good shape. Now, yes, things involve like the Steelers who play the Bengals and all of that sort of thing. By the way, we'll get to this in Fair or Foul in more detail. George Pickens is at it again. Mike Tomlin, who really has some of the more thought out commentaries, quotes, had a great one where he was talking about squashing grapes in order to drink the wine. And when talking about the Steelers season this year. And no, by the way, I don't think he should be fired. I still think it's ridiculous. I think personnel, I think you got to look at the front office on some of that. But no, matter of fact, if Mike Tomlin was fired, I mean, like take Arthur Blank, for instance, with the Falcons. Arthur Blank is right now saying, we're going to let the season play out, and I'll let you know about Arthur Smith and whether or not he's going to be the head coach of the Falcons. If Mike Tomlin suddenly became available, Arthur Blank would immediately fire Arthur Smith because he has the ability to get Mike Tomlin. And there would be owners and GMs across the league that if they're on the fence, they might think about cutting loose their coach because they have a chance to get Mike Tomlin. So I don't think Mike Tomlin's going anywhere. But that soap opera in Pittsburgh just continues to get worse and worse and worse. Amazing. Boom. You doing all right after today's signing day? Happy signing day, by the way.
Yeah, happy signing day, Chico. I think
does signing day mean anything anymore?
The early signing period compared to like the actual signing day.
Yeah, I just it doesn't mean anything. They need to move it back again. I mean, they need to just have the one date and move it later.
Honestly, Chico, with just how wild the recruiting period or season has become, with like players decommitting from schools all across the country, and it happened to Ohio State multiple times, including like just today. It's already happened. I like the idea of getting these guys pen on paper, signed to their school as soon as possible, getting them in to enroll early if possible. But I want to get it done. Like Jeremiah Smith is a great example here. I don't want to, and I don't know if you saw the quotes, by the way, from him and his father, but it was.
He wants to stay. Like there's something special about Ohio State, but
he said he was offered more money, right? And a lot of players are taking that extra money as opposed to
the Miamis, the Florida. Yeah, they're all ponying up a lot of money. Yeah, I totally get it.
Yeah, so I think, by the way, that was awesome to hear from him. It's the mentality that you want to see from players coming into Ohio State. That you're sacrificing making money now to make money down the line.
Okay, but let me go back to why I want just the one. And a lot of people have said this. Coaches now are like, coaches have to say certain things that they wouldn't normally say or make moves that they wouldn't normally make because they're afraid that a guy's gonna, just move it back. Move it back to where it was and have the one day, and that's it. I don't know why we have to have, other than, well, it's more content and everything. It's not beneficial to anybody. It puts the light, it shines the light on these kids, which they already have enough of light. And boy, I'm really sounding old today. I'm yelling at the clouds on Ja Morant, but the early signing period, many coaches have said the same thing. They wish it would be just the one day. Yeah, the Buckeyes lost, was it Edric Houston, I think, is the latest one. I think he was a 5-star, 4 or 5-star.
They lost a number of kids throughout this recruiting cycle, and despite all that, Chico, they still have more 5-stars than anyone in this class.
They have 5, don't they?
Yeah, 4 or 5. Yeah. And they also have what many consider to be the second highest ranked recruiting class.
Yeah, I'm not
saying that you're like poo-pooing on them or anything. I'm just saying, like, for Buckeye fans, like, this is still, there's a lot to be excited about.
Yeah. I get nervous more so than anything else. I get nervous when it's in the trenches more than anything else. Like because that is where I think they need to get better. They need to get stronger. They need to get better athletes. They need to get, the best guys. And it seems like they don't have a lot of those to begin with. And I don't want to say, like, I'm not, no disrespect to Ari, because he's right. Stars do matter. I'm not getting so caught up in, well, if he's not a 5-star, then forget about it, or a 4-star. But the guys that they do get and then that flip, and again, this is why I talked about that Falcons job. What about Kirby Smart? Like, what would you do if you were Kirby Smart and you had a chance to go coach the Falcons? You've pretty much cemented your I wouldn't say cemented your legacy. I mean, Saban continues to do what he's doing. Kirby has done an amazing job at Georgia. But let's just say, hey, just down the road, Arthur Blank is firing Arthur Smith, and he's saying, Kirby, what's it going to take? If you're Kirby Smart, do you entertain that idea? Again, this is where you don't know. This is where NIL comes into play, where some coaches are just so sick and tired of it. Because some kids like Jeremiah Smith and others, they're leaving, and you're seeing a lot of them leave for South Florida. They're going, hey, we've got beaches, we've got beautiful women, and we've got I've got a bag load of money here. And if you want to drive a car, we can get you a car. I mean, now it's become the wild, wild west of sorts. But, man, oh, man, I didn't expect to start the show this way. It's all Ja Morant's fault.
You're on one today, Chico.
It is all Ja Morant's fault. My God, I'm keeping receipts. Dude, you're waving guns in an Instagram video, not once but twice, which is why you were suspended 25 games, and you're keeping receipts? Booney. Oh, look at that. Look at that handsome mug. We haven't talked to this guy in a while. He looks, as he always does, very, very excited and pumped up.
Oh, really? We've got a new platform
to come on the show. What do you mean a new platform? What are you talking about?
It's a new feed.
Oh, Zoom. Yeah. Yeah. We think that might work better. We want to make your life easiest as possible, Booney.
All right.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about, Chico.
That's what we tell you anyway. Yes, absolutely.
Boom. What are you doing?
Just bringing you on the show, Booney. Glad to have you back. I missed you.
Good to be here. What's going on, guys?
So I'm okay. Let me just. I just had a rant there for about 20 minutes. So Ja Morant, I know you don't necessarily follow the NBA a whole lot, Booney, but
I really don't.
Okay, Ja Morant, great player for the Memphis Grizzlies, great young player. He just came back from a 25-game suspension. Why? Because, well, he was being stupid with guns, putting them on Instagram videos, did it once, and then like a few days later decided, oh, let's do it again, and he got suspended 25 games. So he comes back. And I don't know, this is like a new thing with the younger generation of athletes. You know, they say they're keeping receipts, which is essentially,
that's a Dion thing.
Right. Yeah. Did you keep receipts back in the day, Booney? Did you voice the fact that you were keeping receipts?
No, that's you got to my punchline. I definitely kept receipts. I think everybody does. We just didn't verbalize it.
I feel like an old man. I do. But like you just got back and you played a great game. You had 34 points. Whatever happened to, man, it's so great to be back. I missed the game. But no, he immediately goes to, I'm keeping receipts, and all
Keeping receipts.
the receipts that he's keeping are people saying, man, that guy's a knucklehead. Nobody's saying like Ja Morant can't play the game of basketball. They're saying Ja Morant needs to get his head out of his ass so he doesn't end up on another 25-game suspension, but he's keeping receipts on that stuff.
Keeping receipts.
That's what's issue. Yeah, that's right.
You go, keep those receipts.
I'm keeping receipts on you, bro.
I was a young athlete. I know what it's like. And you look back at those days when you get a little bit older, a little wiser. You've been through, you've you've been humbled a few more times, and you look back at that young man and you laugh and you go, he had a lot to learn, but he learned his lessons and he moved on. We're still learning. I'm still learning today.
Yeah,
but definitely there's a time you go through. That's why I look, and being on this side of analyzing baseball so much, I'm not that old guy that looks at the young players and just dismisses certain behaviors. You got to sometimes be able to put yourself back into that. The world's coming at you. You're young. You're making a ton of money. You're famous, and
yeah.
Young people do what young people do. I did it. Most of us did it. Not everybody, but most of us went through a knucklehead phase where we say and do things that we shouldn't do. And he's a great player. No reason for that, but it is what it is. I'm not going to sit here and I give passes always to young baseball players when they make boneheaded decisions, or they do that when people are quick to jump on them and just bury them. I remember when I was 22. I did things that now you're doing this when you're 32 and you're 35 years old. Different. But when you're a young player, that's just what we do. And it doesn't mean I sit here and it's almost like my kids.
Okay. Now let me just interrupt just for a moment.
Okay.
All right. Like what you did back in the day, you told this story, and I love this story. Lou Piniella, you got sent down, and then you're ripping the cover off the ball, and when am I coming back up? And Pinella's like, you know what? Kid hasn't learned his lesson. That's different than, and I know we live in different times, and yeah, I know social media.
We do. It's different.
But right? He's waving guns around, not once, but twice. And then
not smart.
You would think that his first game back, which he played very well, it would be just a little bit of humility, just a little.
You'd like to see that.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, okay, and I don't know if I'm in the minority. I don't know if I'm in the majority, but I think as an athlete and a guy I love, Charles Barkley, it was infamous for saying, I'm not a role model. I think it was Charles, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Charles, among others. But yeah, Charles.
I am polar opposite. I think when you are blessed enough to do what we do as athletes on the big stage and become famous and make a ton of money and get the life and the perks that athletes get, I'm the opposite of Charles Barkley. I think you do have an obligation as a public figure to be responsible and to be a role model. And that means for when you're in the public eye, when you're on TV, do the best you can. We're all human. We're going to make mistakes.
Sure.
Do the best you can to be the best person you can be. Always think your kids are watching you. And I wasn't perfect in that. The little thing I think about, the dorky things, I chewed tobacco and I wasn't going to stop. And that was part of my game. And I'd put a dip in before I went to hit and I'd take it out when I was done. And I dip, I still dip to this day. I'm not going to lie. But the little thing I did, I thought, the kids are watching me and this isn't cool to have that, to have it right there in your back pocket. You have the ring like everybody else. So little things like that, like, I'm going to be on TV. They're going to be, who knows when that's going to be. I did little things like that, put it away. Doesn't mean, I don't think it was hypocritical. I dip. If you ask me, yeah, I do. But the little things you do, I think you do have a responsibility as an athlete and a public figure to be a role model. I think that's kind of what you sign up for when you sign the big check. And you become a figure and a famous person and an athlete playing for a major organization. I think you do have a responsibility to act appropriate to act to represent your not only your team, your league, your organization in a professional manner. I still
Mistakes.
believe that to this day. Doesn't mean I'm right. It means that's what I believe.
Here's what I would say. Like, and you hit the nail on the head with, we all, hell, you and I have had plenty of off-air conversations. We know each other fairly well. I've made plenty of mistakes in my life.
Sure.
But I guess what bothers me more than anything is like the one thing that we are, I think, as a society, and you tell me if I'm wrong, but I think as a society, we are we go the extra mile to forgive athletes that come out and say, you know what, I really screwed up, because it does humanize them and to many people, and it does. So it's like in an era where you could just say, you know what, I screwed up, I'm sorry, I'm going to be better. You go and say, I'm keeping receipts, and all you people that told me I was wrong for waving gun. Like, no, dude, you totally missed the point.
Society is very forgiving, but what are they forgiving of? When you come back from a scandal, let's say an athlete goes through a scandal in their life and they're villainized by the press. Press builds you up, press tears you down.
Sure. Yep.
The only thing that cures that and makes you be accepted back into the arms of the public is playing great and winning. If you play great and win, I don't know that there's a scandal that people can't get over. I've seen it.
Wow.
I mean, look at the history of sports. You come back from a major scandal where you've got hat in hand, tail between your legs. I screwed up. And the public's kind of, you go on Twitter and you just get ripped line after line. This particular and it's a hypothetical. But if you go out and play great and you win, all is forgiven. That's just how our society is. I've seen it time and time and time again.
I guess
you come back,
yeah,
and you don't play well, and you don't win, you're done. They will toss you to the curb. That's just our society.
I'm sure you're going to disagree with me on this. We're going to move on from this
Probably.
here in a moment, but of course you will. But like Pete Rose, for instance, okay, I of course, as a baseball fan, the guy was amazing, and I know you know him, in a much closer situation growing up as a kid there. But like, I always felt like, I could be wrong, I always felt like if Pete showed 1 ounce of contrition, like, you know what, yeah, I did do it, and I'm talking about not after they said, okay, hey, we'll put you in the Hall of Fame only if you. I'm saying like throughout the whole thing. I think people would have said, all right, Pete, you screwed up. It's okay. Tell younger guys that, that's, and we'll have no problem putting you in the Hall of Fame. But it's when you kind of, you double down and triple down and you act like you're above the law or you're above any criticism that I think people tend to hold that grudge.
That's what fame creates. You're so famous, you are above the program when you're when you're on that platform. Pete has since come clean. And Pete, I'll tell you, to this day, growing up the way I grew up and all the players I was around, and I think you've asked me this before on the show. It's, I was asked, who's your favorite player growing up? I didn't have a player. I loved all the players, hanging around those Phillies teams, those Angels teams. I loved all the players. And this particular week, it could be Greg Luzinski's my favorite. Next week, it's Schmidt. Next week, it's Carlton. Next week, it's Reggie. And next week, it's Pete Rose.
Who bought you candy before the game.
But gun to my head, I never had a favorite player. I was just a fan of the game, and I loved sitting there painting Manny Trio's glove for him in his locker. I loved hanging out with Bull. When my dad went to the Angels, I was the bat boy down the right field line. I loved warming up Reggie and Reggie getting pissed when I threw one over his head. But if you gun to my head, you had to pick a guy.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite player? My stock answers, I don't have a favorite player. But if I had to pick, it'd be Pete Rose. And it was how, and this is, I knew Pete off the field and he was hilarious and a bigger than life personality, funny. But as far as when he showed up to the ballpark and how he played start to finish the game of baseball, he is my favorite. He's the epitome of how you play baseball. Going to this subject, I don't think it's a matter of apologizing. Whether he gets into the Hall of Fame or doesn't, I think has nothing to do with his behavior.
Okay.
Either he's in or he's not. I'm not one of those guys that, oh, he would have been in the Hall if he was nicer to the reporters. That's BS.
Well, what about if he didn't bet on baseball and then lie about it? I love Pete.
Well, it's not
do.
that he lied about it. It's not that that's not the point with me. And I go back and forth because I love Pete so much. I go back and forth with this in my mind because obviously from a player's perspective, he's what the Hall of Fame's all about as far as what he did on the field.
No question.
But I go back and forth so much with, it's not a matter of apologizing. It's not a matter of whether you came clean. It doesn't matter. It's you did it. And with that action, do you deserve to be in the Hall of Fame? Because the rules are clear. That's the one sacred rule. You do not bet on your own team or an opponent when you are in uniform. You don't do it. He did it. And it doesn't matter if, oh, I'm sorry, he did it, came clean right away. To me, that's not the decision process. That doesn't make the decision on whether he goes in or whether he doesn't go in. It's the act.
Okay.
You know, it's like a Ty Cobb. Oh, we don't like Ty Cobb. Ty Cobb was one of the greatest hitters of his time. One of the, you know, if you stack them all time, he's one of the greatest hitters.
Look at his numbers against Tony Gwynn's, by the way. I was blown away when I recently saw it side by side.
Who?
Ty Cobb. Like, I mean, you can talk about competition. Like,
but it's like it doesn't matter what you do on the field.
Right,
if you did this,
Yeah,
this is clearly on the rules.
Yep.
Doesn't matter how much we love you, how much we don't love you as fans. It's, are you in? Because if you break this rule, does it matter what you do? Does it matter how nice you are, how much you apologize? You know?
Yeah.
It's you committed this. So it's either you're in or you're not in. And it's not a matter of how much you kiss up or apologize. I think that doesn't matter to me.
I'm not even saying kiss up or apologize. I call it accountability. I mean, I get there's a difference.
But does that take away the act?
No, but I think it allows folks to, like, you say Pete came
to embrace you, right? To embrace without ingratiate themselves to, without a doubt.
Yeah,
and I think Pete at this juncture of his life, he's said it. You know, it's, hey, I did it. I'm sorry. I before. You know, he's getting a little bit older. It's like, before it's all said and done, I'd love to see myself in Cooperstown. I think a lot of people would.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just don't think the argument comes down to whether he came clean when it first happened or he came clean at 80 years old. It's like, no, we either decide he's in or he's not in.
Okay, so I took you down this road. So I do apologize for that. The Ja Morant thing. It took me kind of. It kind of, boom, I was in a bad mood when I came in. And it shouldn't affect me like that, but it just bothered me. Anyway, Booney is joining us. Bret Boone, the former All-Star second baseman, host of the Bret Boone podcast, which we'll get to here in a moment. All right, you're in Southern California. Obviously, the news in baseball in Southern California, Southern Ohio, doesn't matter, is Shohei Ohtani, $700 million. Mm-hmm. Is it truly Shohei mania? I mean, he was in L.A. before. Now he's with the Dodgers. Are people just – is it a nonstop conversation, or is it just kind of like, oh, wow, okay, Dodgers got Shohei Ohtani?
No, I think it's a nationwide conversation. It's a baseball it's the baseball world conversation. Yeah, and outside of baseball, because you see 700 million. You don't see that every day.
Right.
But there's only one Shohei Ohtani. There's only one person in any sport that plays both ways.
But are Dodgers fans geeked about him, I guess?
Oh, without a doubt. But okay. You gotta remember, I'm 119 miles away from Dodger Stadium where I reside. So I'm not touched by that. Actually, I was in LA yesterday playing golf, but
of course you were.
Yeah, Dodger fans. Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Geeked out of their mind. You know, they got a 1, 2, 3. You got Betts and Freeman and Shohei now back to back to back. It's awesome. What Shohei brings, his smile, the way he plays, he stands above all others now in our game. And it's because what he's done, what he's able to do, and nobody else has ever been able to do it. So that's the reason you see the 700. People say, well, 700, it's, almost 300 more than Mike Trout. Well, Mike Trout doesn't pitch. That's the reason. You basically have two $35 million players is what you got. Now, with the exception of next year. You got a bonus for next year because you're not going to pitch. But going forward, they're planning on having two $35 million players. And if you look at the scale and the guys making 30, 35 million in the game today, Shohei definitely fits the bill offensively, and he definitely fits the bill on the mound.
What if he
Not to mention what he brings fanfare-wise,
sure,
what he brings from the Japanese market alone.
Okay.
And believe me, these guys that are shelling out that kind of money, these owners, they know on the other side what's coming in away from the game because they have Shohei Ohtani, what he brings into the game.
I guess,
and that's strictly the Japanese market. I don't know what the number is,
yeah,
but it's a big number.
I mean, I hear what you're saying, and you're right about that. But Shohei isn't necessarily a guy like I actually applaud him. I love the way that he handled his free agency. Like, you know, it was kind of different, and I know it upset a few reporters. And well, he should be allowing us to leak certain things. He didn't want anything out there. So the idea
That's culture. That's the Japanese culture, and that's the way they do business.
Right.
And I think you have to respect that.
No, but again, I know that. What my point is that if you're looking to market the hell out of Shohei Ohtani, what if Shohei Ohtani really doesn't? That's not really him. He's not really. I mean, you're definitely gonna get some residual anyway, but it's not like Shohei Ohtani's like, oh, where's the spotlight? Where's the commercials? Let's go.
No, but he's doing commercials. You check it out. He's already doing commercials. I think you know the way he set up his contract, and it's brilliant in the short term for the Dodgers. It's brilliant long terms, I think, for Shohei, because he has the option of moving out of California at the end of his contract to a zero state. Right? People, I'm sure a lot of people have thought about that, but that's the brilliance of it. But so it's a selfish and an unselfish move. It's like unselfishly, I'm only going to take $2 million a year for now, but he's going to make so much money off the field that's going to supplement his yearly income.
And he wants to win. I mean, he clearly wants to win.
But he's looking for the tax break at the end too.
Yeah.
But in 10 years, the Dodgers are going to be on the hook for $68 million a year for a player they don't have. So I think it's out of sight, out of mind. So right now it sounds great because the Dodgers can continue to acquire players. They got Glass now. I mean, the Dodgers are loaded as anybody. But I don't know. I saw this contract. First thing I thought from a player's perspective, brilliant. I'm going to be on a team for 10 years. Not only I'm going to get the tax benefit when I start collecting the big chunk. I'm going to make a ton of money off the field. And for my team for the next 10 years, I'm going to give them ultimate flexibility and give them $68 million more a year that they wouldn't normally had if I signed a conventional contract. So I think from Shohei's perspective, it's a win-win-win. And in the short term for the Dodgers, they're going to be as dangerous as any team out there for the short term foreseeable future. It's just when that 10 years hits and Shohei's gone, are they going to be sitting around going, well, damn, who knows what the world's going to be like in 10 years? Yeah, but it's something like out of sight, out of mind. We'll worry about that in 10 years.
Okay, here's what I think. Here's how I view the Dodgers. Like, obviously, this lineup it's sick. It's ridiculous. It's whatever you want to say. And, you know, hey, anybody could have paid him. You know, only certain teams do, whatever. I'm not going to get into the whole, you know, man, it's the disparity is so great. But I will say this. I feel like with the Dodgers, like they're going to break the regular season record. I think
what?
For most wins in a season. I guarantee.
No chance.
Yeah,
no chance.
Only because your team holds that record, Boone.
It'll never happen. It'll never happen in our lifetime.
No,
111's great. 116's different level.
Okay, but the Dodgers 100. I think they're going to get 120.
Chico, you're acting like the layman fan out there. Yeah, no. Just because we stack up.
No. But let me tell you, it's to
make
make another point. If you shut your mouth long enough to let me make my point, Booney.
And dropping a shut your mouth.
I love you, Booney.
Boom. Please correct your host.
He's not saying a word. Okay, so I think, in other words, okay, let's say they don't break the record. They get to 115. Won't. And they'll be one shy of the immortal Seattle Mariners and 06 Cubs. But I think the Dodgers are still going to be the Dodgers. Like, I think it's going to be, wow, they did great. Oh, my God, they're running. They're winning the NL West by 27 and a half games. Great. What do you do in the postseason? And I still feel like that pressure is going to be so enormous. I mean, you already have Mookie. You already have Freddie. You already have Oh, I mean, my God, I would hope you can win a lot of games, but ultimately, does that guarantee you in the postseason? I don't know. I think they pucker in the postseason.
Here's my opinion of that. Dodgers are great offense. I don't care how offensive you are.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you're going to win a World Series. I'll still stack Atlanta's offense and the Texas Rangers offense. I'll put them up against the Dodgers offense. They're just as good. How do you pitch? Do you stay healthy for winning 116 games? And I'm not sitting here. We joke about my team that won 116. I'm not saying we're the greatest team ever assembled.
No, you would never say that, Boone.
No, I wouldn't.
I know.
I mean, we have the record, so we can say factually we are the greatest regular season team of all time.
Yeah, you can.
But that doesn't mean if I'm honest and I just break down each position, we were a great team. I'm not going to sit here and say we're the greatest team ever assembled. That would be intellectually dishonest. But I will say this: to win 116 games, you got to be more than great. You got to be more than a chemistry. There's got to be. You have to have breaks. It's a magical year that you have to have. Everything has to go perfect for you to get to that amount of wins. The health has to be unbelievable. You can't go down. You got Walker Buehler as your starting number one. Okay, you got Glass now in the number 2 spot for the Dodgers. Urias had a scandal last year. Who knows what's going to happen there? Shohei's coming back in 2025 to be on that staff. Walker Buehler's coming back from Tommy John. Glass now has been known in and out. He's hurt. He's healthy. He's hurt. He's healthy. What if Walker Buehler has to stay healthy and pitch like Walker Buehler? Glass now has to stay healthy and pitch like Glass now.
Yeah.
Shohei has to stay injury free. Freeman has to stay injury free. Betts has to stay injury free. If everybody has a perfect year and that 5 in the rotation don't miss a start, that's your best chance. But how often does that happen? So there's so many variables. Without a doubt, this Dodger team is going to be great. But when you talk about winning 116, 117, I don't think we're ever going to see it again. I lived it. I was on a lot of great teams. I was on better teams. That 99 Braves team is pretty darn good.
Yeah.
And we didn't even come close to winning 116 games. That was a different ride, and I can't explain it. And you can't explain it to anybody unless you were there. It's like we just showed up and we had like a 10th guy on the field every time.
I don't think I'm not saying it's easy when I'm being
it'll
the
never
layman
happen.
fan.
There's a reason it's only happened in the modern era one time.
Okay.
It'll never happen again.
Okay.
In our lifetime.
All right.
I'm not saying never.
Yeah.
Of course, anything's going to happen in the history of the world. But I'm saying in our lifetime, I'd be shocked if I was on this show one day saying, Chico, can you believe the Braves won 119 last year? No chance.
Booney, do you think there's any chance that I'll be like 88 and you'll be in your 90s and we'll still be talking baseball in this format? Do you think there's any chance that would be?
Well, are you going to be around when you're 88?
Pretty good shape.
I'll be around when I'm in my 90s. I'm worried about you.
Bret Boone joining us. Hey, let me ask you something about Shohei Ohtani. So I had Anthony Kastrovitz on, our good friend with MLB.com, and he said something. I don't want to say it's shocking because I actually agree with him, but I wonder how many people do agree with him, and that is Shohei Ohtani is already a Hall of Famer because of how he's impacted the game.
Absolutely not.
Why not?
How many years has he done it? You do it for 4 years and he's been playing like this arguably he's been playing great since he got here. But at this level, well, I think Aaron Judge, when he hit the 63 homers?
But I mean, again, we go back to
won the MVP. I think Shohei Ohtani should have 3 MVPs, not 2. I think he should have won the year Judge won. So that's 3.
The idea that nobody's done what he's done.
Nobody's ever done what he's done.
Yeah.
For me, no. He's not in the Hall of Fame yet. If he quit tomorrow, he's not in the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
But if he's a shell of what he's done for the foreseeable short-term future, if he does even a little bit of what he's done for the next 3, 4, 5 years, he's a shoo-in. Because you're right. Then you go to the argument of nobody's ever done it. Nobody's ever done it both ways. No, we didn't expect him to do it both ways at an all-star, superstar level.
That's why
I expected him to be a decent player, an everyday player as an offensive player, and a 3rd or 4th starter. or a bullpen guy, that would be remarkable in itself. But to be in a number one guy and also an impact guy that's winning home run titles, it's absurd. So yes, if he does anything close to this, I think he set the bar so high, Chico, that it's going to be really tough for him to live up to what he's been doing. Virtually impossible. I mean, this guy steals bases, steals 20 plus bases a year on top of the offense and the pitching that he's doing.
How many
Something
more
we've
teams?
Never seen.
How many more teams do you think, Booney? And I don't think it's many because again, we want to be clear. It's not like, oh well, Shohei did it, so I can do it too. But there will be that thought in players' heads. So in that regard, like teams are going to be a little more open than maybe they were 10, 20.
Oh, without a doubt. He's, you know, how many times you see stuff and go, oh, we'll never see that again. Well, right. Here it comes. Shohei's opened the door. He's proven to all of us that have played the game and lived the game our whole lives. We never thought we'd see that because we didn't think the physical and the mental could be. I thought you could do it at a college level. You'd see some guys. Mark Kotze did it at the college level. He closed games.
Yep.
And he was a great offensive player. That's collegiate. That's Division I baseball. It's a little different than the big leagues. And I thought, you can't do it at the big league level. It's too much. But if you really get into the conversation, like, yeah, one day as life develops and the physical develops and we get better and better and data and the way you prepare, sure, one day some guy might be able to be in the bullpen and part-time hit. But to just all of a sudden, no, I'm not only a part-time hitter. I hit second in the lineup, even the day I'm pitching. So I could be on first base. I got to go in.
It's literally.
I got to go in and get ready. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable what he's doing. I didn't say we would never see it, but to be sitting here in 2023 and seeing this at this level, unbelievable. He's definitely opened the door to the future of ball clubs looking for two-way players because they know now it's doable. So, you're definitely going to see a kid right now, probably 10 years old. One day we're going to see the next Shohei. I'm not saying he's going to be as great as Shohei, but I think more and more ball clubs are going to start to look for those two-way players because you get two players for the price of one. So he's definitely opened the door. He's proven that the modern day athlete can do it. And I think we're going to see more of his type of player.
How excited is Uncle Arnie to write Juan Soto's name on the lineup card every day?
Very, I think that's big for them. And I've talked about this on a couple shows. I think Juan Soto in New York in that Yankee clubhouse, absolutely tremendous. I think he's going to have a big year. It's a walk year for him. I think in the San Diego clubhouse, not as much. I think it's a big difference. It's about putting personalities together. It's not about just getting a bunch of talent, throwing it against the wall and say, that's a great team. No, that's great talent. But you got to have the right guys in the room. He goes into that New York locker room. It's different. It's Aaron Judge. It's Stanton. It's Garrett Cole. It's a veteran lineup. It's a been there, done that to the postseason roster they've composed. And I think he's going to fit in great. I think he's going to go in there and just rake and be Juan Soto. And this could be a monster year. Probably going to hit in front of or behind Aaron Judge. I don't know what Uncle Arnie has decided, but I think it's a huge win. I think it was good for San Diego to move on with that. They've got Bogarts, they've got Tatis, and they've got Machado. That San Diego offense is still loaded. People aren't talking about San Diego because they had a really bad year and they really underachieved last year. Yeah. That offense is still loaded. And by the way, with the recent signing of Kansas City, Waka and Lugo, they lost those from San Diego Padres. Padres and Snell is probably going to not sign with San Diego Padres. Tell you what, this kid they got from the Yankees, King.
Michael King. Oh, yeah.
He's really good.
Yeah, I remember
and
you
they're
talking
not talking about that. I thought that was a great get for the San Diego Padres in return for Soto. So I think that deal, tremendous for the Yankees, but also really good for the Padres getting King. Nobody's talking about King. Everybody's talking about Soto. Nobody's talking about Verdugo from Boston in left field for the Yankees. That's a huge, sneaky deal that was done before the Soto trade. But I think just strictly talking about the Soto trade, I think it's great for the Yankees, and I think San Diego is going to do really good with this King kid. And he's obviously the lesser known, but I think he's going to be known after next year.
Okay, so and this is the real reason we like to get you on, Booney. We whether you're out in the mountains in camouflage and getting ready to hunt. Congratulations are in order. Your daughter Savannah finally did tie the knot with Nick Allen, and
Very cool.
for the A's. Yep. So congratulations on that. I want to know. I got to know. Did you cry at any point? But was it because you had to give Savannah away, or because you were footing the bill for that?
Both. No, I cried fitting the bill. I cried earlier. That was before. I'll tell you what. Nick Allen is just a quality kid.
Awesome.
And I'm proud to call him my son-in-law. I couldn't ask for somebody. He loves my daughter to pieces. She walks on water. Sometimes I tell him, you got to make her cook some meals for you. Don't let her get into this big league wife lifestyle. I tease him about it. I tease her about it. He's a wonderful kid. I didn't think I was gonna cry. I knew I was gonna have some emotions to get caught,
sure,
kind of get caught up in a little bit. But I had the first look. So when she comes out, and for the first time, nobody's seen her, and they had me out in the woods and kind of facing and it was just me and about
in a tree stand. You were still hunting.
No. and it was about 20 cameras around. They had Savannah had this sophisticated setup. And I turned around and she was there. It was just her. And it was just me, and it was quiet. And cried a little bit. They got it on video. I don't like it, but they got it. I counted. I kind of got emotional 4 times. But you only see me. And now I'm not blubbering, use a 1950s phrase. But I had to gather myself. The first time I saw her, I mean, I had tears in my eyes. I was giving her a hug. And then walking her down the aisle, I got a little bit, And then sitting there when they were actually tying the knot, a little bit more. So, it's definitely emotional. By the time we got to the after party, and I had to give a big toast, and I had it under control. I'd got my emotions out, and it was fun. Everything went smooth. I got to ride a bull. Savannah had me go to some after party, which these days,
you rode
Chico,
a bull?
I never go to after parties. No, a mechanical bull. We were at at this after party with all the 20-somethings, and Dad showed up in his suit, and they thought it was a good idea for Mr. Boone to get on the bull. By the way, I had the record for the evening. I stayed on the bull 36 seconds.
Of course you did.
I think it had something to do with the person running the bull that wanted me to win.
Okay, now any other, like you, Arnie, Bob, like electric slide, any kind of crazy tomfoolery that would have taken place?
No, it was good. Arnie came in for a few days. I got to see him and a couple of the kids. That was nice to see.
Bob was very
cool.
It's
cool because we don't. Myself, Matthew, my youngest brother, Aaron, and Dad don't get together that often. I mean, just because we're in different time zones,
right?
But it was nice getting all of us together. We got some good pictures. I got a cool thing I'm giving to Dad for Christmas, the Boone Boys, and
love it.
We got that at the wedding. But a lot of good times. I'm not a wedding guy, by the way. I can't stand weddings. But this, obviously, when it's your daughter, it's a little bit different than going to a buddy's wedding from college. But it went off without a hitch. She did a great job. He did a great job. And I actually didn't have a bad time at the party afterwards. And I don't like parties, but it was really cool. And they're over in Arizona. I'm going to see them. They're coming over here for Christmas. I think they're on their way tomorrow. So yeah, really cool. Really cool.
Well, all kidding aside, that is great to hear. Congratulations to not only you, but Savannah and Nick and all involved. All right. Last thing, the Boone podcast. I saw the other day, well, it wasn't the other day, maybe like last week or so. You got the college football playoff rankings are coming out. I look up and Booney's got Reese Davis on. Like, I mean, you're all over the place. Like, whoever the hot name is,
That's what we do here at the Boone Podcast.
I was just searching. I was baiting you. I was hoping you would say that, and that's exactly what.
Right. We got Kirk Herbstreit coming up. We got Dion coming up in a couple weeks.
Ask Kirk about the Florida State. He's taking a lot of heat on that Florida State stuff.
Oh, I will.
Yeah.
I'll get prepped on I'll get the 5-minute tutorial on college football because I'm not the biggest. No,
Booney, I am here for you. I would steer you. Especially, I'm reading Herbstreit's book right now as we speak. As a matter of fact, I've got
we got some good ones coming up. I'm taking a little easy in the off season. I'm only doing 2 a week. Well, we got the Into the Archives every Saturday.
Right,
but, doing 2 a week. We'll crank it up again when we get further down, when we get closer to spring training. But still going strong, doing well. I'm thinking about this. What do you think about having my oldest kids on the podcast, Jake and Savannah, just say what was their childhood like and Christmas with the Boone family? You think that'd be an interesting episode?
As long as you know exactly what's coming. As long as you know exactly what they're going to say.
When do I ever know what's coming? I get blindsided all the time, especially by my kids. And they won't hold back. They won't hold back.
That would be good. Yeah, that would be good. I think anytime
I'm kicking that around.
Anytime you get the peek behind the curtain, the fans they enjoy that, Booney. They enjoy that. Hey man, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to you guys, and we appreciate you taking time. Where are you going? You got a tea time all set? You ready to go? Where are you?
No tea time.
Pebble Beach.
Yesterday.
Oh no!
Played LA North yesterday. Great. One of my favorite courses up in LA.
Are you knocking some strokes off? Because you've been playing a lot lately.
I'm really not. I played good at Pebble. I shot 76 one day at Pebble Beach. Made 2 eagles the same round.
Two eagles. Wow.
Eagled 18. Both kickaways.
Wow.
Never done that at Pebble Beach. Never made 2 eagles in a round. So
Eagle 6.
I was pretty. But then you look at the score. I shot 76 and I had 2 eagles. So really, was it that good of a day? No, but the score says it was. So I'm happy.
If I just step foot on Pebble, would be a good day. See, that's gonna happen, sir. I'm gonna be that Cato Kalin. I'm gonna come in there and all of a sudden you're gonna see me like just meandering around the breakfast nook, and then I'll join you. I'll kind of just follow along when you get in the big motorcade to go to Pebble Beach, and I'll just be kind of hanging around. I'll just be that guy hanging around.
The problem is I'm not really knocking any strokes off. I'm putting better. Putting's been my nemesis for about the last year. All of a sudden, I got the yips. I'm putting better again, but I'm still making mistakes. Yesterday, I shot 82 yesterday.
Oh,
I hit it better than that.
Booney, here's the thing. I'll leave you with this. And I know you've seen it and love it. You're not being the ball, Booney. You got to be the ball.
No, I'm not being the ball. I don't play enough. I don't work on my game. Yes, I don't care enough about it.
Oh,
I love golf. I love it. Don't get me wrong. But I don't care enough to be great at golf. You need to practice. You need to go to the range and hit endless balls. You need to work. I need to, because I don't necessarily have a golf swing. Mine's kind of a baseball swing, manipulated, got a little of this, trinket here, trinket there. It's not the smooth golf swing that we envision. To be really good, you have to emulate a little bit more of a golf swing, and you got to practice. And I don't care enough to really go out and work at it. Like my goal when I wake up is I want to be a scratch player. I don't. I wish I did because I love the game so much, but I enjoy when I get to play, just teeing it up and taking my strokes, and hopefully I play good that day. So you got to work too hard, and then you get to a scratch, and then all of a sudden you're always giving strokes, and you got to be on top of your game.
Yeah, you would. I can't see you giving strokes. You wouldn't want to be giving.
And if you're not practicing and you're not playing good, you get your brains beat in because you're a 0 handicap, and you're giving this guy that's pretty good for a side. That doesn't seem fun to me.
Booney, happy holidays, buddy.
All right, guys.
Always fun. Thank you. Boom.
Cat got your tongue today, son. Come on. Cheer up. Haven't heard from you.
Yeah, he's kind of been down in the dumps lately. He's coming out of it lately, though.
Cheer up. It's Christmas. Have a good
Working
Christmas,
through a slump.
guys.
All right. Thanks, Booney.
You got it.
All right. Well, see, I will say this, Boom. I think that are we getting in? Okay, we got Damon Wolf coming in here in just a bit to talk some Browns. I think Booney actually talked himself into Shohei Ohtani already as a Hall of Famer. And I thought that was a really good a bold statement from Castrovince when we had him on last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, when he said he thinks that Shohei Ohtani already is a Hall of Famer simply because of what he's done already and how he's impacted the game. And Booney, when he first said no, but then he started like making the argument for him. We'll have to get with him off the air and see if I think he might have changed his mind off the air. All right. Let us shift our focus to the Cleveland Browns. They are back on the practice field today. They will take on the Houston Texans. They are somehow, some way, 9-5, despite all of the injuries and the adversity. Here to join us to talk Browns is Damon Wolf. He is with Browns in Motion. He joins us now on the Chico Borman Show on the Big Play Sports Network. What a ride it has been, Damon. I mean, did you ever think, honestly, even if as optimistic as you want to be, that if I would have run down the laundry list of injuries and key injuries before the season and said, okay, hey, we're going to be talking just before Christmas, the Browns are going to be 9-5, you would have told me I was nuts, right?
Oh, absolutely. I was actually thinking about that question the other day, and I just cannot believe what they've been able to achieve on the football field this season.
Has Kevin Stefanski, in your mind, when we talk about everything that he's done and everything the team has done, obviously, but kind of the role he's played in that, not just the obvious one being the head coach, but does it appear to you that he has kind of evolved into that head coach role? Like, it's not, I think before we looked at him and said, yeah, he's the head coach, but he's more, he's into the offense and trying. It seems like this year, and he's had to do it, but it seems like he's evolved and I think thrived in the idea of being the head coach and the guy that, has everything under his wing.
Yeah, absolutely. We talk all the time about players developing, and we've kind of seen that with, I think the best example on the team is David Njoku and his growth as a leader on the team. But I think you hit the nail on the head when you said evolve. I think Kevin has really grown and developed as well as a head coach, especially over this past season. But he has done a tremendous job. And, going back 2020, 2021, I did have a few concerns and questions. Is he that kind of guy that can motivate the team? However, you see in his locker room speeches post-game now, the team is totally bought in, and you can actually see his growth in that area, and he's done a tremendous job.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up about the emotion and the locker room speeches. I've been talking about this the last 2 weeks. They've become like must-see TV for a lot of us Browns fans. It's been great. But I think the thing about Kevin, to your point about how, when he came, he's always very, and continues to be, very measured. He certainly thinks about everything he's going to say. It is a gift. Him and Barry both have it where they can say a whole lot. They can speak for 20 minutes and then walk away and you go, what did they really say? Nothing at all.
Right.
But like Kevin, I think he has been able to be that quiet, and players respect more than anything else. They want you to be you. If you're fake, if you're not genuine, they're going to sniff that out in a second. They've been doing it for too long. So I think Kevin has been able to, turn that emotion on when he's needed to. But I think at the same time, he hasn't had to kind of veer too far away from who he is. And I think the players really appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. I think so as well. I think that the players probably get to see a little bit different side to him than what we get to see as fans and
Sure.
in the media. And I think that, him being able to be there for the amount of time that he has, and they've really developed, that culture word, is really appropriate. And I think he's just done a tremendous job. And I think the next step that I really want to see is, kind of, not to get into the off season too much, but, how the team feels about, Kevin, is he going to continue calling plays on offense, or is he just going to step into more of that CEO role?
Would you be okay? Let me get your opinion on that. Do you think that he should still be calling plays moving forward if that's what he wants to do? Or because, again, I think he's been able to do both And I think there's been times he's gotten into a nice rhythm calling plays too. So what is your opinion on that?
Yeah, well, I think that, if Kevin wants to call plays, he should continue to do so. And, I think the big question for next year would be, all about, the quarterback position and Deshaun. We've kind of seen what Kevin's been able to do here with Joe Flacco. Seems that he's really, really comfortable with a quarterback like Flacco and what he's been able to do. And, I think that there are some questions around that. But if Kevin wants to call plays, I have no problem with that. I'm a big Stefanski supporter. I think what he's doing right now is really, really incredible.
What stood out the most to you in terms of Joe Flacco?
I think his, just him being calm and his veteran presence back there, but just really, I mean, honestly, I've been surprised at how well he can still throw the ball. I mean, he can really sling it, and it looks like a little bit of his mechanics have maybe shifted a little bit than when I remember him in Baltimore. But man, he can step back there and throw the ball. And what he's doing, as what Kevin's doing specifically with Flacco, doing some RPO game and that kind of stuff. It's just really impressive, especially with, the situation we've had at offensive tackle, and, we're having to get rid of the ball pretty quickly back there. But Kevin's done some really creative stuff and drawn up some new wrinkles in order to give him some more time back there.
Yeah, we keep talking about these injuries, and I said last couple weeks, like I'm almost afraid to open Twitter every day because it's going to be a new name. But I mean, at what point do you think this really does catch up to him, or is it just one of those? And this is kind of the attitude I've adopted. You know what? The season's been so crazy to this point. Who knows? And who knows what'll happen? But I mean, is there a point you think where these injuries they get to be too much, especially when you're getting closer and closer to possibly being in the postseason?
Yeah, it's one of those things that I'm amazed at what they've been able to accomplish. I almost sometimes feel like we're Cinderella past 11 p.m. at night, coming in here to the playoffs. What time is this thing going to fall apart on us? But, to their credit, they've done a great job staying together and playing as a team and playing for each other and all those kinds of things. And I'm just trying to take the approach, and I'm trying not to think too much about it and just kind of enjoy the ride and watch every week, because I don't think that there's certainly not a game left on the remaining schedule that I don't think they can win. And I think that they might be able to win a game or two in the playoffs.
Oh, okay. Okay. Having said that, and I think we can look ahead a little bit. They don't. We can at least talk about it. It's looking more and more like 10 wins is going to be certainly very doable. They've got 3 games remaining, including Texans this Sunday, and it looking like C.J. Stroud might not be able to go for that. How important do you think, like, staying at that 5 seed and possibly playing somebody from the AFC South is going to be? Like, I feel like if they're going to win a game, or at least feel good, we feel good about them winning a game in the playoffs, it might come from that first-round game being against an AFC South opponent.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and one that I would really agree with, Chico. I think that that should be their goal at this point, is to maintain that number 5 position.
As much as you'd like to say go win the division, I think
Yeah. I mean, with what Baltimore's been able to do, and I know Baltimore has a really tough schedule. I mean, I'm not saying it's out of the realm of possibility, and that should definitely be the team's goal. But as far as like my fan expectations, I think that if they were able to, hold down that number 5 spot, that would be an ideal position for them for that first round of the wild card.
What's the latest as far as the I know Tommy Togiai was signed off of the practice squad, I think, by the Falcons, and yeah. I think at first blush we were looking at that like, wow, this guy could be right back in their good graces and getting time on the defensive line. Tell us what happened there. I think they signed somebody else.
So basically Togiai, yesterday it was reported that the Browns had signed Chris Williams from the Chiefs practice squad, who's a defensive tackle. It's a little bit of a, out of nowhere kind of move. But then later we found out that Tommy Togiai signed with the Falcons on their active roster. So that, makes all the sense in the world to kind of replace that and get some depth there for possibly down the road here.
How do you, when you look at what the Browns have been able to do or not do away from home, because at home they've been incredible on the defensive side of the ball. At away from Cleveland Browns Stadium, it's been, the disparity is gigantic. Is there anything that Jim Schwartz talks about it, or is it just one of those just fluke things and you can't really put your finger on it? Because they've obviously got to play in Houston this weekend.
Yeah, I would say, for the most part, it's more so a fluke thing more than anything. But, I think being at home really helps. You can tell that the team, it really feeds off of energy. And that's kind of what Schwartz has brought to the situation and team. And I think that, of course, at home, they really get into that. And, hearing the fans, and that place get loud really helps them perform better on the field. And as far as, the away record, they have had several trips out west. And that, I know they tried to stay out there during the, the split with the Broncos and Rams. But, and that probably was helpful. But, they went out to Seattle, history tells us that teams traveling from the east to the west don't always fare so well.
To go back to Joe Flacco for a moment, I was saying the other day that I think, earlier in the season, and this happens a lot, I think, for fans and a team in general. They're trying to find their identity, and so you get real caught up in, how many times did they throw? How many times did they run? And in the pass run, it's got to be. And I'm to the point now with the way they've been, Joe Flacco's been slinging it around. It's not, it hasn't always been pretty. He's going to throw some picks. But you just have confidence that Stefanski, Flacco, I don't even care really if they run the ball or not. And I'm usually that guy that says, no, you got to establish the run. But I think the way this thing is gone and the trust that we have in Flacco, more importantly, the trust that Stefanski has in Flacco, just go ahead and sling it. If that's what you think is going to win the game, go out and sling it around the yard.
Yeah, they've certainly had their issues running the football as of late, which is, typically not the norm for the Browns. But, I agree with you. Watching the games, at home, basically, I've never been more comfortable this year with a quarterback, taking snaps than Flacco. And he's done a tremendous job. And, it just, you can trust him to get rid of the football. If the play's not there, he's going to get rid of it pretty quickly. And sometimes that may be an interception, but that's just one of the things you kind of have to live with.
All right. What are you forecasting for Sunday in Houston against the Texans?
Well, if Stroud doesn't play, that's going to be, certainly a significant factor for the game. But I think the Browns, can go down there and handle their business. It would be nice for them to kind of put an end to guys like you and I talking about them not playing well on the road. And I think the Browns, come away with the win. I think, something like if Keenum's playing, it might be something like 24-13, 24-14, something like that.
Okay, I like it. Damon Wolf, again, you can follow him on Twitter at Browns in Motion, at NFL in Motion. Damon, we appreciate the time. It has been a fun ride. It will continue to be a fun ride. Who knows where we're going to end up here, but appreciate your time, pal. We'll do it again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, Chico. Appreciate it.
All right, that is, again, Damon Wolf joining us here on the Chico Borman Show and the Big Play Sports Network. Yeah, I don't – and I think when we say they haven't had success running the ball, they've really put it in the hands of Joe Flacco more than anybody else. Plus, you've got, I think, Jerome Ford, who's not really 100%. You've got a lot of guys who aren't 100%. But I think right now it's just a trust, a faith that you have that Flacco, okay, you go back to last Sunday. He stunk for 3 quarters, or, didn't exactly knock your socks off for 3 quarters. Fourth quarter rolls around, and he's fitting it in windows to Amari Cooper, and he's finding David Njoku. He's finding Marquise Goodwin, which I wouldn't be against. I wouldn't mind seeing Marquise Goodwin a couple more shots to him as the end of the season rolls along. All right, we'll take a break. We come back. We will play a little fair or foul, and somebody may have been listening yesterday. We'll tell you about that when we come back as well. Chico Borman Show with you till 2, right here on the Big Play Sports Network. Do I detect some new fair or foul music there?
It's the same one as that we used as last time in the studio.
So I need to pay more attention.
Maybe you weren't wearing headphones last time.
We need you to, I think that's what it is, actually. We need you, maybe you can bring your guitar in on certain days. You play the intro and outro.
I'm never opposed to performance, Chico.
You still have that like sky blue guitar?
Yeah.
Is that
my go-to?
That's your go-to?
Yeah, my baby.
Good deal. All right, it is time for a little fair or foul as we wind down Wednesday's edition of the Chico Borman Show here on the Big Play Sports Network. Boom, what do you got?
Well, Chico, I want to start things off in the NFL with some interesting comments from George Pickens, wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Boy, that franchise has come a long way from Hines Ward, huh? So Pickens was seen basically like letting up on a block that wound up getting running back Jalen Warren tackled before he wound up like just a couple yards short of the end zone. His block very well could have sprung Warren in for the score. So Pickens was asked specifically about that play, and he said, quote, "I was just trying to prevent the Tank Dell situation. The same thing that happened to him. I didn't want to get an injury. When you stay on the block too low, you can get ran up on very easily." Chico, do you think that Pickens' reason for letting up on a block is fair or foul?
No, obviously it's foul. I will say this, okay? I'm going to give him a smidge of credit. That, yes, that is very possible. And yes, in those situations, when you're kind of going straight ahead, a lot of times that does, like sometimes your own back will run into you, let alone somebody else. Sometimes your own running back will just plow right into you. But, I mean, seriously, if you could pick one team over the years and one coach where that just doesn't fit, it would be Mike Tomlin. And you mentioned Hines Ward. It's a perfect name. I mean, can you imagine Hines Ward ever saying something like that? Okay, times have changed, and okay, Pickens isn't Ward, and you know, but my God, could you be any more of a diva? You already have a play where you wanted no part in tackling somebody who had gotten a loose ball, gotten a fumble. So you've got that on tape, and you said, well, that's never going to happen again. Then you do that. Then there's video of him practicing at their facility, and, I mean, they're running routes, and he clearly, I mean, because this was like an in shot, a screenshot or whatever. Somebody in Pittsburgh had said, one of the players anonymously had said, yeah, we don't have guys that are practicing as hard as they can every day. And they immediately went to George Pickens running a route in practice. He's barely moving. And this isn't the walkthrough. I mean, he's barely moving. Where this is dangerous is if you're Mike Tomlin, other guys will start to just kind of tune out the message because Tomlin just does not stand for this sort of thing. I know the guy's talented, but at some point you got to pull the plug, and it might be now.
Yeah, of all the woes that the Steelers have experienced throughout this season, Chico, this one feels like the most glaring issue that needs to be handled.
And he won't go away.
Yeah, every week. There's something new every week with him. Well, over to the New York Giants now. Yesterday we talked about Giants quarterback Tommy DeVito.
Yeah.
Basically upping his appearance fee for some mom and pop pizza shop. His agent did.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah.
And so when it was revealed that the restaurant couldn't afford to bring him in for that doubled appearance fee, DeVito ended up going in for free, Chico. He did it without an appearance fee, and he has reportedly moved on from his agent as well.
Good.
Yes. So fair or foul, Chico, Tommy DeVito, redeemed.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, this is what I was going to say when I was saying, like, somebody was listening. I know maybe he was. But this is just fair. This is exactly what I meant when I said, like, players hire the agent, and the agent works for the player, not the other way around. And sometimes it does get lost because, yeah, a lot of times your agent, and I'm sure it's the case with DeVito, but a lot of times your agent, especially if you talk to, NFL players or professional athletes in general through the years, they'll say, it's somebody that I grew up with, it's somebody that I trust a lot. So, yeah, a lot of times you handle all those headaches, and I'll just kind of, do my thing. If you need me, let me know. Let me know when we're close to signing or something like that. But in this case with DeVito, it was clearly a case of, dude, you're hurting me. Like, this is a mom and pop shop, and it's not like DeVito. He's already come and gone for the most part in terms of his celebrity status. But to have your agent, first of all, you can't be seen with this dude pregame anymore. Like, he looks like an idiot with that hat on. The agent used Tommy DeVito. He knew that it was his few moments of fame, so he was going to use it as much as he could. But my God, try to strong arm a Jersey pizza shop, a mom and pop shop, to go from 10 to 20,000. DeVito, well done. It had to be done, and he did it. So good job.
Yeah, and I commend him as well for moving on from that agent. It certainly seems like,
what a clown.
Yeah, felt like it backfired in his face. That green jacket he was wearing because he was just inducted into like the Italian American Hall of Fame or whatever.
His agent?
Yeah. It was
my
like,
God.
Yeah.
What a clown.
Just a bit excessive, Chico.
What a
Just
clown.
bit.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we've talked about it countless times, the injury issues surrounding the Browns. It seems as of now, knock on wood, the linebacker group has been pretty fortunate in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, Chico, a prominent veteran has hit the market as Justin Houston has requested a release from the Carolina Panthers, and he wants to go play for a contender. Fair or foul, the Browns should make a play for Justin Houston.
Okay, I get this question a lot. We always, whenever there's like a release, we always, bring up these guys. I don't know what he has left, and it sounds like he doesn't have much left. So, like, immediately, as soon as you hear the name, Justin Houston, you think back to KC, and you think back to, 13 and a half sacks. And, well, that's not the same guy. Could there be a renaissance coming if they're in? And we've seen it happen. Guys don't want to, they're not happy. Who would be happy in Carolina these days? Guys aren't happy where they're at. They go to a new situation, new scenery, a team that is on the cusp of the postseason, and they're re-energized, and they want to get out there and play. It could, but again, as I say a lot of times in these situations, there's a reason he's available. They'll kick Andrew Berry will absolutely kick the tires, especially with all the injuries they've had. But in terms of what he's got left, I don't know, so I can't really say either way.
Sure. Now I want to go over to college ball now because it is early signing period today. So Ohio State getting a lot of new recruits coming in.
Yeah.
Inking their deals with their respective schools. It's been interesting, though, throughout this recruiting cycle, Chico, and not just this one, but it seems as if Ohio State has started to lose out on some defensive line prospects late in the process these last few years. One of the biggest, I guess, looming rumors that circulates, and it's a lot of times it's like opposing coaches putting this in recruits' heads and whatnot. The idea of Larry Johnson's retirement looming. Right? And so a lot of defensive linemen in the past, this was defensive NU for a nice stint. A lot of defensive linemen came to Ohio State to play under Coach Larry Johnson. With that said, now this possibility seems to be growing by the year, obviously, as he is getting up there in age. He's in his 70s. Fair or foul, Chico, Ohio State needs to get out in front of this and find a replacement for Larry Johnson before they keep losing out on big-time defensive line recruits.
Foul. I think it's a combination of things. I don't think, you talk about all the guys that he is tutored, and you're talking about, obviously the Bosa brothers, and he's still that guy. I think it's the combination of things haven't been the great, and when we say, wow, you're a premier program when you say things aren't the greatest there. You've lost to Michigan, so there's a lot of angst going on right now in Columbus. But I think what this boils down to more than anything else is that you're seeing teams know, certain programs know that they are able to come in and woo these kids with buckets of money or automobiles. And I don't think Ohio State is one to say, well, okay, we'll match you on this. Or they don't want to get into that sort of bidding war. Now, I don't doubt that what you're hearing and what you're talking about there, because it happens all the time. They'll try to put a bug in a kid's ear and say, Larry Johnson, are you sure you want to go there? I mean, he might be there now, but by next year he could be gone. And, that happens all the time. I think that's just a matter of trust that a player has to have with the coach. If that's not there, then yeah. But I don't think it's a matter of saying Larry Johnson needs to go. I hope that Larry Johnson, being the guy that he is, if he feels he's not able to do it like he did before, and I'm not talking about from a tutelage standpoint, but from a recruiting standpoint, that he's exhausted. And by the way, he's not the only guy. He's not the only coach that is feeling that he would get in front of it and not Ohio State and say, guys, that's it, I'm done. But I don't see that happening. I think right now you're seeing the very real effects of programs that are just throwing gobs and gobs of money at kids, and they're going to go there. I mean, it's as simple as that.
Yeah, and we kind of touched on it before, but that's why I'm really excited for Jeremiah Smith to come in, the number one ranked receiver, and by some recruiting sites rank the #1 overall prospect in this class.
Oh, they're saying he's and there's been a lot of great wide receivers. They're saying generational talent wide receiver.
I mean, from a hype perspective, coming out of high school, it's significantly greater than Marvin Harrison. I'm not saying that he's going to be that level, but like the hype,
he's the real deal.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the real deal.
Yeah, and he got it done all this year, and I'm really excited to see him come in. And his attitude of, look, I'm getting offered more money right now by other schools, but that doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is development. I can make that money from NIL down the line. I can make that money in the pros.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily have. I can't sit here, and I think it's important to say this. Like, yeah, you like kids that say that, much like with Devin Brown. I love the fact that Devin Brown takes the opposite of Kyle McCord's approach and says, you know what? I'm going to run with it. Give me the job. I'm going to play in the Cotton Bowl. I'm going to prove to you. But when it comes to some of these kids, like, we have to put ourselves in their shoes, which we don't always do. And now that NIL is a thing, I mean, if a kid feels like, I mean, think about it. $1 million is life-changing, Bone. Just $1 million. So if you have a kid and he's looking at his family situation and they're going to offer him, I mean, yeah, you can say, well, hey, you'll get that back, but that's not a guarantee. And sometimes that temptation to say, my God, I can take care of my ailing mom now, or my mom or dad's been working their tails off for years, their health's declining. Now I can tell them to rest easy and we're going to be okay. So I never want to speak in terms of, oh, they're just not tough enough. They're not thinking the right way, because we don't know really what they're thinking in their shoes, in their situations. But I mean, this is, like I said, this is very real. This is what you're seeing from NIL and these programs, and it's no surprise that you're hearing it from, Miami a lot, Florida State a lot. I know Edric Houston just flipped to Alabama. It is what it is. I mean, this is life in college football as we now know it.
The interesting thing with that Edric Houston flip is, from what I've read, he was offered more money from Ohio State than Alabama. So it seems like there's something afoot.
I just hate hearing that. Like,
I know,
he was
right?
offered more money.
I know, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not, put it this way. As far as Larry Johnson goes, I don't doubt for 1 second that teams, this is the edge that you try to get. Everybody's looking for an advantage. So I don't doubt for 1 second that every team that is trying to get a kid that Ohio State wants on the defensive line are telling them, hey, I'm in my 50s. I'm not going anywhere. Larry Johnson, how many more years? Yeah, they're going to be thinking about that. So, yeah, it's definitely a ploy. I don't think it's dirty necessarily. It's just, it is what it is. That's how it rolls.
All right, well, another interesting situation, maybe not that interesting, but something seems to be brewing out in Southern California surrounding the USC Trojans, as multiple players have entered the transfer portal yesterday. Now, I want to shout out Bo Bishop. He didn't report anything. It was just speculation and him connecting the dots that he thought maybe Lincoln Riley was snooping around some NFL jobs. And I thought that was an interesting point because we've seen that speculated a lot with guys like Harbaugh and Ryan Day. Fair or foul, Chico, do you see Lincoln Riley ever making the jump to the National Football League?
Yeah, because he's young enough. I have to say fair on that. I'm not saying now. Did Bo put that out on Twitter?
Yeah.
Okay, because let me just tell you, and I've said this to people on and off the air, Bo Bishop to me is one of the best in the business, and I wholly 100% mean that. So if he's putting that out there, there's probably a reason for it. Yeah, I think he might be sniffing around. Again, these are young guys. There's going to be some openings in the NFL, and it's funny because you figure like, oh, those young guys, hey, they're not really affected by the NIL because they know that's kind of, they get tired of it just as much as older coaches do. That said, Lincoln Riley, I kind of feel like shame on him because, you came in with all of this swagger, all this pomp and circumstance, and you still have plenty of time to get something built. I know the pressure's mounting there, but this is part of the deal. So, I mean, what kind of message are you sending your kids that, hey, when the going gets rough, sniff around and see what the NFL might offer. So I don't doubt that's what's probably happening, because it just seems strange. Like some of the kids there that are flipping or getting in the transfer portal are guys that were like, I don't know, like core guys that Lincoln wanted, recruited, and to just all of a sudden see them jump is not making a lot of sense. I mean, they're going to be on the big stage. They're going to be in the Big Ten as soon as next year. This is I don't trust the guy who resides in the head coach's office, and that always is a scary thing. So, coupled that it's Bo Bishop that put it out there, I wouldn't doubt that.
Something's definitely going on.
Oh yeah,
in Los Angeles. But last thing for you on today's edition of Fair or Foul, I want to go back to the NFL. Talk a little Baker Mayfield, the Bake Show, racking up the second ever perfect passer rating in the history of games played at Lambeau Field.
Good for Baker. Good for Baker.
The other instance was Aaron Rodgers. So Baker was the first road quarterback to do it in Lambeau. Now the Bucs are 7-7 in not even arguably, there's no question about it, the worst division in all of the NFL, the NFC South.
Yep.
Tied with the Saints at 7-7 right now. It's been an up and down year for Baker. Got off to the hot start, kind of wavered there for a bit, and then he kind of got it going again. CJ had that game-winning drive against him, but he led them to a go-ahead score before that. He later on had a game-winning drive to follow. And then, of course, this performance in Lambeau. Fair or foul, Chico? Baker has done enough to earn that starting spot for the Buccaneers next year.
Foul, because he can't do it consistently. Like Baker has moments like that day, and I think we saw it here in Cleveland. That's why I always pushed back. And look, was I wrong on Baker to some degree? Yes. I thought he could be a consistently great quarterback. I don't think he can. Does he have it in him? Like, does he have the talent to have days like that? Yes. But if you're telling me, if you're saying that he's got the job or should be, a strong candidate for it, you've got to do it consistently. I mean, that's the name of the game in the NFL. With teams, with quarterbacks, with whoever, you've got to be consistent. And Baker's just not. Like, I mean, it wasn't that long ago that they're like, oh, Baker, man, and there was some games where he was just awful. You can't have that much of a slide. But I'll always root for Baker. I don't care what anybody says here in Cleveland. I thought, he tried hard. I thought he wanted to be here. He wanted to, bring a winner to Cleveland. And he does have more talent than people want to give him credit for. But can he do it consistently week after week, which I think is a prerequisite in the NFL? No, I don't think he can.
And the Buccaneers will have some real questions to answer going into this offseason. Obviously, what do you do at quarterback? Do you ride with Baker? And I just want to say, I'm rooting for him too. The ultimate competitor, great teammate and leader. Guys rally around him. And also, though, you could be losing arguably your best option in Mike Evans on a contract year. So he could be on his way out, and who even knows how much he has left in the tank at this point going into next season.
Yeah,
so that offense could be an entirely different look.
Yeah, they could be looking at a big-time rebuild, no doubt about it.
And that is fair or foul.
All right, that is fair or foul. Real quick, couple notes on the Browns. So Kevin Stefanski, I like this move. Being reported that they decided to, normally Wednesday would be their first day back at practice getting ready for the week. He decided instead to kind of hold a walkthrough because it's so late in the season and guys are banged up. Good move. And I know people are saying, oh, well, I should have done that earlier. Otherwise, no, it's not that. But this is knowing your team and wanting to keep them fresh, because that's the name of the game too. Can you get hot at the right time? Some of these guys are gone for the year and they're not coming back, but you want to have your guys, and the guys that are healthy, you want to have them at their peak as best they can be moving forward. So I like that move. Couple of stats from Sunday. One is Cooper and Njoku both going over 100 yards receiving versus the Bears mark. The first time the Browns had two 100-yard receivers in the same game since Josh Gordon and Jordan Cameron back in 2013. And then the other one that I saw, and I wanted to make sure I read this correctly because I never in a million years would have guessed this. Amari Cooper, I believe they said, is the first to have a back-to-back 1,000-yard season in Browns history.
He would be. He's 15 yards away, so he
he's
hasn't
15
done it
yards
yet.
away, right?
Yeah, that's wild.
Ever. I mean, it's surprising. It is still surprising. I don't care what anybody says. I would have thought like a Webster Slaughter did it. But again, back in those Bernie days and the mid-'80s, like, it was a different style of football. I mean, they did throw the ball, don't get me wrong, but it was Mack and Bynum. They weren't throwing it that much. And that was also back in the day when 1,000 yards was something. Now, 1,000 yards back then is like 1,500 yards today. 1,000 yards, happens all the time now. But I'm just surprised that he will be the first ever, and when he gets, and we hope stays healthy, back-to-back 1,000-yard receiver for the Browns. I never would have guessed that either. So the game is a-changing, kids. The game is a-changing, like it or not. All right, we're out of time for this for this Wednesday. Tomorrow on the show, looking to track down James Rapine. He, of course, down in Cincinnati covering the Bengals for SI Now and Locked On Bagels podcast. The Bengals, they got a big one with the Steelers. Now, the Steelers aren't much of a threat, so I don't think the Bengals will have much of an issue with them. But Bengals-Browns, you circle that game at the end of the year. Jake Browning, Joe Flacco. Bengals did not go away. They could have very easily folded the tents. I think even Rapine thought, who would have thought that Jake Browning would do what he's done, except for Jake Browning, who told everybody, damn it, don't you bleep, and that's what you get for bleep and trading me. You don't cross Jake Browning. You also don't cross James Rapine. So we will talk with him tomorrow ahead of the weekend, and of course the very latest coming up on Friday. We're going to be talking to Sean Pendergast. He's down in Houston Sports Radio. Good guy. Have gone on his show before, and he's gone on mine, and I always enjoy the conversation. So we'll get the very latest on the Texans coming up on Friday's show, and the very latest from Berea with Dan Lobby. But, that is going to do it for today. Thanks to Damon Wolf. Also, thank you very much to our buddy, we love him, Bret Booney. Check out his podcast, the Bret Boone Podcast, wherever you get those podcasts. Thanks to Michael Bohm. We will be back with you again tomorrow, beginning at noon, right here on the Chico Borman Show on the Big Play Sports Network. Until then, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, everybody. See you.